Hello everyone. This will be a quick overview of the section 1.2 in the book, where we get hands-on with data. So in the previous section we talked about data in theory, general terminology for datasets, variable, all that. And in this section and in the remainder of the book, we're gonna deal with more practical concerns. So how do you store datasets? And we're going to discuss two tools, Pandas for data management and Seaborn for data visualization. So in the Python ecosystem, these are the standard tools and are very powerful, allow you to deal with all kinds of data sets and perform standard manipulations. And visualization is an important part of any statistical workflow. You have to look at what data you're dealing with. So this is the objective of this section, is to get more practical. Instead of talking about variables in theory, it's like actually get in there and look at datasets and variables in them. Okay, look at the video description. I'll provide a link to this concept map. It's a comprehensive overview of everything in chapter 1. So if you understand all the words in this concept map, then you're done with chapter 1. This is what we've seen so far, and this will be in the next section, 1.3, the next week. Okay, so the goal of this is to get you set up for the coding environment. So you've been reading the book so far, I hope, but from starting this week, there will be computational aspect for each section. There will be some computations you can run on your computer to follow along the computations in the book. So I highly recommend JupyterLab desktop, as you know, follow the instructions. If you go to this website and the download section, download the installer for your system. And when you run that, it will set up the JupyterLab application in its own environment. So this is very important in order not to mess up or interfere with any other Python projects you have on your computer. By using JupyterLab desktop, it runs a version of Python in its own sandboxed environment. So there is no, if you're already using Python for programming or for some other tasks, there's no chance that you're playing with statistics and learning statistics will interfere with this. Follow the instructions, but it's pretty simple, just download and run. Then the second aspect is to download the repository, the No.bs stats repository. So if you look at that here, this contains the code notebooks, where are the notebooks, and the datasets to use for the book. You can ignore the other folders, but I want you to have all the notebooks in one place and all the datasets. So to do this, you click here, code, and download zip. If you're familiar with Git, you can use any of the other worms, but the zip works fine. So this will give you a downloadable zip file. You unzip it, you put it somewhere, and when you open it with JupyterLab desktop, this is what it will look like. So you have a bunch of folders, and here is the main window of what you're going to edit. So datasets, these are the datasets from the book. More importantly, notebooks. And then, so it tells you the instructions. For example, go to notebook section 1.2 data in practice. So if you click on that, it will open this notebook. Okay. So reading is important. The book has all the good stuff, but the book, I wrote the book, you know, like you have to trust me, everything I say. If I tell you that this command does something useful, you have to trust me. But what if you could run this command yourself? So if we look here, import pandas, load the player's data frame. So rather than just reading, you can text for yourself and play with the code examples in the notebook. So this is very important and highly recommended. In fact, I would say required Why? So the reason is for two reasons. One is for understanding. So we're starting with very basic stuff, load the data set, look at it. But when we get to more advanced data manipulations and statistical procedures,
it's 4 o'clock.
It's very useful to have the text explain things in words, and then the code examples show, like, you can actually go step by step. What are the operations? So the coding is not optional. It's to help your understanding. And sometimes reading the code will help you understand the text, and sometimes, we have two chances: the text description and the code description. Always better than simply, I might make a mistake in the text. When you run it on your own, you see, okay, this really does what he says. The second reason is more practical. The book you read and forget, but the code examples, this kind of gets hands-on practice. When you go in the real world and start to analyze some other data set, the theory is very difficult to remember, but the practical experience you gain, this will be applicable in any data set you want to work with. So I would like you to go out there and have practical knowledge. So including, we'll see some data cleaning steps and things that normally don't get a lot of coverage in other books. I want you to have this kind of experience that when you touch a real data set, you won't be like, oh, what the hell, this is, I don't know what to do here. So you'll be more prepared to deal with realistic data. Okay. As far as the content is, I'm not going to go through everything in details, but the two sections are pandas. So the first half of the section talks about pandas. Don't worry, it's not too detailed. It's just the minimum things you need to know to get used to pandas. And the second part is about Seaborn. So if you go to the table of contents, we can close that. So import Seaborn and create a visualization. So this is called a strip plot. Okay. Then at the end of the section, we talk about the data sets. So this is a little introduction to show which data sets we'll use throughout the book. The setting is that you're a scientist consulting with the different clients. And each client has different questions they want to ask, and this helps you get to know the data sets. Before, in chapter 3, we're going to do statistics on them. But in chapter 1 data, we're just visualizing and getting to know what is in them. What did the clients provide you? The sneaky reason for this section is to showcase, we just learned about pandas and Seaborn. Let's see what you can do with it for data exploration. And that's it. So it's a pretty long section, but there is no new content. It's just hands-on programming and data visualization. I'll send the exercises file separately at the end of by the end of the day. Just one comment. So the pandas we cover in this book, in this section, is only the basics, only the required. There's a lot more to learn in Appendix D, which you can access online here. So if you go to nobiastats.com, in Appendix D, pandas. Okay. So if I can open this, there is, actually, even better. You have all the files on your computers. So you go to pandas. Now you go to tutorials and pandas tutorial. So always better to access on your computer, but you can also read online. So this is the online version of the same notebook. So the table of contents, which I can open here, shows you everything that's covered. So data transformations, data cleaning, data extraction from different formats. So there's a lot more details. If you don't need to know for the book, but when you're done reading the basic pandas and you're like, hey, I want to know more, Appendix D is there for you. There's probably a few hours of reading, but Pandas is the Swiss Army knife of data manipulation. So anytime you spend learning how to use it will pay dividends over the years. So notice the materials in appendix. So you don't need to read it to continue with the rest of the book, but when you have free time and you're like, I want to know more, Appendix D. All right. Good luck with the reading. See you next week.